This message has come to you just when it was supposed to, chosen one. There are no unintentional turns of events or coincidences. You are now seeing the pinnacle of heavenly orchestration. Something exceptional is waiting to be awakened inside you, which is why you were led here. All those secret convictions you've had that divine intervention would change your life, they are genuine, not just imaginations. That stress you've been experiencing recently, it's spiritual confirmation, not just stress. Your energy has been seen by a strong person who is deeply influenced and guided by the divine. The door that will take you out of the place that has been draining your soul and into an atmosphere where you can finally breathe freely and prosper is being readied because they have detected the potential you have been working so hard to hide. Behind the scenes, the old ones, whether you call them angels, ancestors, or heavenly allies, have been working nonstop. It's not your imagination, what you've been feeling. This moment has been hinted at by the signals, the synchronicity, and the inner nudges. You are about to be moved, raised, and put in a situation where your abilities will be recognized, respected, and enhanced. Since this is not your typical material, I ask that you take a moment to calm yourself, take a big breath, and if you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe before we go further. This is a heavenly communication created exclusively for the chosen ones, those who sense the inner urge to awaken and ascend. If this message stirs something deep within your soul, if it affects the part of you that's weary of hiding in the shadows and yearns to walk freely in your divine mission, I want you to drop the number 88 in the comments. That number isn't random. It's a holy code, a spiritual proclamation to the cosmos that says, I am aligned, I am ready, I am chosen. This message isn't for the faint-hearted. It's for those who have weathered the trials, undergone the tests, and are finally ready to walk into divine harmony. Know this: if you stick with me through to the finish, you're going to unlock buried knowledge, hone your spiritual vision, and unleash benefits that were previously denied to you because of fear and delusion. Make this message your spiritual fulcrum. You will uncover a new layer of truth with each watching, so you may watch it as many times as necessary. To share the love of the angels, write Amen and contribute up to $20 with a super thank you. And with each layer, you'll become stronger, closer to your mission, and more certain about the divine destiny that has already been predetermined for you. Now is your moment. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The beginning of the divine transition. Your spirit sensed the change long before an offer showed up, or an opportunity knocked on your door. Long before your head could comprehend the tremors of change, your spirit was aware of them. Places that used to seem familiar started to feel too tiny, and you could have wondered, why does everything here suddenly feel off? Previously easygoing conversations become tense. Once comfortable habits began to seem constrictive, like wearing out-of-fitting shoes. Naturally, you asked yourself whether it was just boredom or exhaustion. However, it wasn't. You were feeling a holy restlessness, which was something far more profound. Your guides were guiding you towards something bigger via synchronicities, chance meetings, and unexpected messages. Your spirit had already started to connect with the next phase. Maybe you were pulled to a new creative space, heard about a certain place again, or suddenly found yourself thinking about a significant change in your work. These weren't coincidences. Rather, they were divine reminders that your new chapter was about to take shape. Doubt attempted to get in the way. Deep down, you knew better than to listen to that voice, which was fashioned by familiarity and fear, saying, "Don't be ungrateful. Play it safe. Dreams like that aren't for people like you." That voice wasn't reality. Rather, it was fear attempting to stop the uncontrollable breakout. Then, something occurred just when you wanted clarification. Maybe it was a mutual link, a digital communication, or a seemingly chance meeting that seemed predestined that brought you into contact with a high-level person. This individual recognized your own self, your unadulterated potential, not simply what the outside world perceives of you. You could have asked yourself, "Is this real?" at first, but your soul recognized their energy right away. It felt aligned, like something old and genuine, rather than transactional or deceptive. A door that you had been working for your whole life seemed to have finally opened. The annoyance of being stopped started to subside at that instant, and eagerness replaced it. The unseen barriers that surrounded you started to fall away. You began prepared to receive your dreams and ceased to mistrust them. Yes, you may need to take a risk, move, enter a new circle, or accept a challenge you have never encountered before. In order to start this new chapter, however, this is divine activity, not blind trust. Your goal was not protected by your forefathers, so that you might conceal it in the shadows. The season is over. It is time for you to get up. This is a spiritual placement, a deliberate change that plants your gift precisely where it should bloom. It is more than simply a move. Furthermore, even while dread may attempt to infiltrate, it cannot halt the process that has already begun. You are aligning yourself with a setting that enhances rather than diminishes your excellence. Don't hesitate when the opportunity arises. Keep your spirit from being overshadowed by your fear. Take the call. Your spirit was remembering its real home, which is why you held that desire. And now that vision is finally being realized, in actuality. Chapter 2. A Higher Purpose Through Hiddenness. You've endured the protracted and silent period of being ignored. It looked for what seemed like forever that no one really saw you, not for the light you bring, nor for who you are. You certainly had your bright moments when you helped others, gave advice, repaired damaged areas, and provided clarification when there was misunderstanding. But the acknowledgement, if it arrived at all, it was brief. And the lack of recognition caused you to doubt everything. You questioned if your gifts were genuine or only wishful thinking. To share the love of the angels, write Amen and contribute up to $20 with a super thank you. Perhaps you didn't think you were as remarkable as you thought you were. The fact is, however, that you were never forgotten. You were purposefully hidden, not as a kind of punishment, but as a heavenly prelude. You were protected from early exposure by your guardians, your higher spiritual guidance. They gave you the opportunity to develop in the silence and broaden your knowledge away from the cacophony. Why? Because if you had received praise too soon, you may have developed an addiction to it, or, worse, you might have been the victim of jealousy, manipulation, or burnout before you had the spiritual capacity to cope with it. You were being trained to become strong and unflappable, while others sought attention. You didn't need a crowd to learn discipline. Even when no one was looking, you were always there. That period of stillness was training, not neglect. You developed a new type of strength as a result. You learned to lead with depth rather than ego. The divine is now bringing you into a season of visibility after you have shown yourself loyal in the invisible areas. The time is holy and purposeful. It is not arbitrary. An ally with vision, purpose, and influence is entering your world. They own the keys to a place that reflects your soul's vibration. They are here because their task requires your presence, not to save you. They see the worth in you that your former environment was too tiny and constrained to understand. You won't undervalue yourself to fit in this time. You won't minimize your genius. Why? Because you've already learned how to succeed without praise. You no longer need approval from others. You're beyond that delusion. You only need to be more genuine in this next setting, not louder. The individuals who are now watching are attracted to your authority rather than feeling frightened by it. You are expanded by their vitality. They're calling on you to rise, not to shrink to fit into a mold. Indeed, it could seem unreal at the time. It might seem intimidating to be asked to the front after spending so much time in the background. Don't let that shock stop you, however. The door has been kept open by your angels, ancestors, and invisible friends who are waiting for you to become strong enough to pass through it without losing who you are. The moment has arrived. You're prepared. You are now entering a future that will be determined by your maturity rather than your popularity. You were a part of the heavenly foundation, and each year you spent in the shadows was precious. The foundation is now finished. It's a genuine invitation. This is the elevation. Take a big step. You were destined to ascend. Beyond Gatekeepers and Games. Chapter 3. The milieu you were forced to live in, one that was tainted by control and competition, was one of the most obvious indications that you were meant for something more. People were all around you, and they could feel your radiance even from a distance. However, many felt intimidated rather than encouraged. They guarded doors rather than opened them. Some prevented you from taking advantage of chances that may have accelerated your development and from accessing crucial times. Others went beyond, circulating gossip, casting doubt on your moral character, or clandestinely undermining your advancement. These weren't only barriers, they were diversions, well-constructed delusions designed to get you caught up in cycles of reliance and uncertainty. You may have once thought that you might ascend to the top if you could simply win them over, demonstrate your commitment, and establish your value. But you never went ahead that way. The trap was that. With heavenly patience, your celestial companions observed this development. They permitted the conflict to hone your judgment, to teach you the holy skill of distinguishing between those who really want to assist you in rising and those who only wish to manipulate the ascent itself, rather than to punish you. To share the love of the angels, write Amen and contribute up to $20 with a super thank you. The curtain eventually started to lift. You ceased to ask the self-appointed gatekeepers for their permission. You no longer equated value with access. You discovered something profound. Your light, your calling, your purpose. It never required their approval. Closed walls and narrow minds could never change the fact that you were selected. Nevertheless, the delusions held sway. For a while, you wondered whether you just needed to show yourself a little more by paying additional dues. However, life proved you wrong, as it often does. The opposition, the failures, the humiliations, both public and private, they were heavenly wake-up calls. Until, one day, everything became clear. The game was over for you. You no longer yearned for their approval. And it was the pivotal moment. Your angelic pals noticed. By winning them over, you failed the test. By recognizing that you never required them in the first place, you managed to go over it. The illusion was destroyed by that choice. All of a sudden, you stopped looking for outside validation. Instead of listening to the cacophony that was attempting to hold you back, you started to tune into your soul and the heavenly whispers that were directing you forward. And something amazing, the divine irony, started to emerge in that holy silence. Your spiritual friends intervened with heavenly reinforcements the instant you stopped bowing down to false altars and made the decision to choose truth above approbation. You made a new acquaintance who has genuine vision, genuine influence, and most importantly, genuine alignment. This individual intended to intensify your brightness, not control it. No more playing to the wrong crowd. No more side trips. At last, someone who saw you as holy, as well as helpful, was guiding your journey. Illusions shatter in this manner. Aligning with people who respect your power and provide room for it to grow is the way real elevation occurs, not by appeasing those who are afraid of it. Rivals may still exist, but they won't shape your experience anymore. You are now functioning at a frequency that is just beyond high for superficial control and petty thinking to attain. You were never meant to remain little by your heavenly companions. Every obstacle served as training, and every setback served as a priceless lesson in self-confidence. And the floodgates are opening now that you have developed that inner assurance. The time for being ignored is past. This is the age of divine placement. Prepare yourselves for what is about to happen is not just strong, but also unstoppable. Refined in the dark. Chapter 4. You remained awake while the world slept on you, honing your talents, developing in solitude, and getting ready for the moment that no one else could predict. Both the stage and the applause were absent from your performance. You did, however, own something far more sacred: time spent in the shadows. You found refuge in solitude. You transformed your area into a hallowed place for metamorphosis during those peaceful hours when no one was around. On some evenings, your bedroom served as your altar. On some days, the nooks and crannies of your universe became into mastery classes. Even though you weren't in the limelight, you were becoming stronger, more profound, and more resilient. You were seeking the truth, while others were seeking attention. You went above and above for perfection, whereas others performed for applause. The delusion attempted to persuade you that advancement was pointless without a following, and that you weren't accomplishing enough if no one else was applauding. A different reality, however, was conveyed by your heavenly allies. What is nourished in solitude becomes indestructible. Without the noise, what is constructed becomes sacrosanct. You discovered how to safeguard your talents during that secret time. Your thoughts and energies weren't intended for everyone to have access to. You developed more discernment and intentionality. Additionally, your strength was increasing even if your sight was poor. The divine saw every secret victory, every quiet triumph, and every spiritual download in the middle of the night. None of it was overlooked. It was all worthwhile. You gained clarity from your time away from the distractions. Without any hindrance, you might hear heavenly guidance. They were shielding you, not delaying you. You were fortunate enough to have the room to develop, without ego, without noise, and without fake approval. So instead of falling behind, you surged beyond what most others could only imagine. And the time is drawing near. It's time to share what you've been working on behind closed doors. Rooms you have never visited are already whispering your name. Your angelic partners are putting you in the right place, in front of someone who has the alignment and power to elevate what you've been working on. Your peaceful mastery now speaks louder than any performance ever could, not because you yelled the loudest or pleaded for attention. You will be prepared when the platform, whether it be a stage, a change, or a whole new world, arrives. When they see how sophisticated and powerful your skills have become, the same individuals who formerly disregarded you will be rendered indignant. The divine plan has always been thus. It was accuracy, not punishment. That was your hidden season. It served as defense. The reveal is about to start. Unquestionably brilliant light is going to shine on what was fashioned in the dark. Chapter 5. Dispelling the timing myth. The idea that the moment isn't appropriate is among the most misleading delusions that selected ones often encounter. How many opportunities did you miss because you felt your life needed to be more organized first, rather than because you had the motivation or skills? You promised yourself that you would move on as soon as the situation subsided. The money was in order, the relationship was repaired, and the tension subsided. You waited and remained still for longer than you would want to acknowledge because of the appearance of flawless alignment. The reality is, however, that it was never meant to be, and that ideal moment never materialized. Obedience is the foundation of your destiny, not ease or comfort. Before they stepped in, your heavenly companions didn't require your life to be perfect. In actuality, they often interrupted your schedule at the most inconvenient times, when you were feeling overburdened, unprepared, or too busy to change. Why? For delusions flourish when there is a wait. Fear may keep your purpose prisoner for a longer period of time if you wait for life to align. However, fate reacts to faith rather than waiting for the perfect moment. And before anything makes sense, trust, true trust, asks you to take action. During your path, You have received indications and little heavenly openings from your spiritual team. These might be an unexpected invitation, a chance encounter, or a whisper in your soul telling you to go now. They were testing your willingness to take risks when nothing was certain, not waiting for your life to be flawless before taking action. And every time you took a step, even when you weren't sure, the power and resources came. That was your instruction, a holy call to believe in the invisible, to follow the heavenly guidance instead of human reason. You eventually stopped using convenience as a criterion to make choices. That one change broke the illusion. You queried, is this alignment, rather than, is this the right time? You came to see that waiting for the ideal moment was really simply procrastination disguised as patience. As you followed their counsel, even when it interfered with your goals, you discovered that you were becoming stronger, braver, and more receptive to divine flow. Illusion advised you to do this later, but your heavenly partners murmured, now. You discovered that divine timing isn't about having everything ready before you take action, but rather about being prepared to answer the call when it comes, and having faith that everything will work itself out as you go. And now you don't hesitate when the next major change draws near. Even if life still seems chaotic or unsettled, you know that if the time comes to change course, move, or go into uncharted terrain, it has already received spiritual approval. You now know that the confirmation is the call itself. Your supporters want your soul to be willing to go even when the road is invisible, willing to proceed without certainty, not for your calendar to be clear. You've learned that although divine alignment always conveys power, it doesn't always provide comfort. And that little ache? It's evidence of your development. It's a spiritual signal that you're on the correct track. Go then if the door opens. Accept the invitation if it comes. For this particular moment, you have been ready. Your ability to trust has been tested by each lesson. Your responsiveness to divine timing has improved with each test. This means that nothing can stop you when your heavenly pals say it's time. The appearance of incorrect time has been broken by you. The waiting is over. You're on the go. You're prepared.